Hello everybody, welcome back to Book of Kings, where we discuss topics such as history, religion, philosophy, psychology, culture, and more, and the way that they all interact with one another. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive a notification every time I release a new video. Hope you enjoy. The term Caliphate may carry some notoriety with it, given its association in recent years with the Islamic State, which proclaimed itself a modern-day caliphate in 2014. However, the institution of the caliphate is one that spans the course of nearly 1,400 years and includes some of the most powerful and important empires the world has ever seen. Of the many Islamic empires which have existed throughout history, 4 are generally recognized as caliphates. Those being the Rashidun Caliphate, the Umayyad Caliphate, the Abbasid Caliphate, and the Ottoman Empire, with occasional competitors challenging them for the title. From the origins of the Caliphate following the death of Muhammad, the first 4 caliphs, or successors to Muhammad, would create the first caliphate in Muslim history, the Rashidun Caliphate. This caliphate would be short-lived, soon being replaced by the Umayyad Caliphate, which would expand the borders of the caliphate, creating the largest empire the world had seen up until that point. Due to harsh treatment toward the various ethnic and religious groups within the caliphate, the Umayyads would ultimately be overthrown by the Abbasid dynasty, beginning the 3rd caliphate in Islamic history, the Abbasid Caliphate. The Abbasids would oversee the flourishing of scientific and cultural achievement in an era known as the Islamic Golden Age, as well as witness the decentralization of the caliphate, with the caliphs in Baghdad acting as spiritual leaders to various powerful emirs and sultans. Throughout the course of its 500-year history, the Abbasid Caliphate would overcome challenges to its authority, such as the rise of Shi'ism and the Crusades. However, it would ultimately meet destruction during the Mongol conquests. Following the Mongol defeat at the hands of the Mamluk sultans, surviving Abbasids would receive refuge within the Mamluk Sultanate in Cairo, where their caliphate would continue, albeit devoid of any real power. While the Abbasid Caliphate would continue to exist in exile in Cairo, a new power would rise in the Anatolian Peninsula of modern-day Turkey. Formerly dominated by the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum, following the Mongol conquests, the Anatolian Peninsula would come to be dominated by various Turkish beyliks or minor principalities. One of these beyliks would rise above the rest and come to dominate the region. This would be the beylik founded by Osman I, founder of the Ottoman dynasty, which would grow to become the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire would spread throughout Anatolia and the Balkans, absorbing the other beyliks and encircling the last holdouts of the Byzantine Empire, which had been reduced to a small rump state centered around Constantinople. Under the reign of Sultan Mehmed II, commonly known as Mehmed the Conqueror, the Ottomans would ultimately conquer Constantinople in 1453, ending the Byzantine Empire once and for all, and turning the Ottoman Empire into a force to be reckoned with. The Ottomans' rise to unparalleled dominance within the Sunni world would occur under the reign of Selim I, spreading Ottoman boundaries to eastern Anatolia and ultimately conquering the Mamluk Sultanate, and therefore the Abbasid Caliphate in Cairo in 1517, officially succeeding the Abbasid Caliphate as the near universally recognized caliphate within the Sunni world. Additionally, with the conquest of the Mamluk Sultanate, the Ottomans would gain control of the 3 Muslim holy cities of Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem, further strengthening their claims to the caliphate. It should be noted, however, that the Ottomans began referring to themselves as caliphs as early as the reign of Sultan Murad I. It should also be noted that while possessing the title of caliph, the Ottomans would continue to simultaneously use the title of sultan when referring to themselves. The Ottomans were known for being pragmatic rulers, adhering to the moderate Hanafi school of jurisprudence, which allowed them the freedom to govern without being burdened by strict orthodoxy. One notable example of this would be the millet system, whereby the Ottomans allowed the various religious minority communities to govern themselves with relative autonomy, with this often being cited as an example of religious tolerance on part of the Ottoman rulers. The Ottomans would be patrons of Sufism, with most Ottoman sultans being members of a Sufi order, witnessing the establishment and growth of Sufi orders such as the Bektashi and Mevlevi orders. Like the Abbasids before them, the Ottomans would be challenged by an arch-rival Shia power, in their case, this being the Safavid Persian Empire. The Ottomans would engage in frequent conflict with the Safavids, including recurring border disputes between the two empires. Ottoman power is widely viewed as having reached its peak under the reign of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, son of Selim I and the longest reigning sultan in Ottoman history, who would increase the empire's territorial gains in Eastern Europe, Iraq, and North Africa. It was often believed that following this, the Ottoman Empire would go into a period of decline. However, this narrative is now commonly disputed, with most historians describing this as a period of crisis and adaptation, with the prosperity of the Ottoman Empire continuing long after the death of Suleiman the Magnificent. Amongst the changes which occurred during this period was the transition to the reduced importance of the Sultan/Caliph in Ottoman politics in favor of a bureaucratically centered empire with power informally shared by various individuals and factions rooted in an ideology of maintaining justice and acting as the protector of Sunni Islam, all the while never calling into question the supreme authority of the Ottoman imperial dynasty. This system helped reduce infighting amongst royal family members competing for the throne upon the impending death of the Sultan. The perpetual prosperity of the Ottomans would continue until the 19th century with the rise of the West and the modern world and the inevitable decline of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans would attempt to reverse this decline by enacting various reforms. These would be the Tanzimat reforms, which would include a stronger centralization of the empire's provinces and the promotion of an Ottoman national identity in order to counter rising nationalist sentiments amongst the empire's various ethnic and religious groups. This would be followed by the first constitutional era, which began in 1876 under the rule of Sultan Abdul Hamid II, in which the empire was transitioned into a parliamentarian constitutional monarchy. However, this would eventually be reversed by Abdul Hamid 2 years later, restoring the absolute monarchy. Following this, we would witness a second constitutional era, which began in 1908 during the Young Turk Revolution, where the nationalist, modernist Young Turk Party would force Abdul Hamid to restore the Ottoman constitution and parliament, transforming the empire into a parliamentarian constitutional monarchy once again. The Young Turks would go on to stage a coup in 1913, whereby they would effectively transform the Ottoman Empire into a single-party totalitarian state dominated by the Young Turks underneath the facade of a constitutional monarchy. The Young Turk-led government would effectively be dominated by a triumvirate of three leaders, known as the Three Pashas: Mehmed Talat Pasha, Esmail Enver Pasha, and Ahmed Jamal Pasha. This power arrangement would continue for the remainder of the empire's existence. The empire would eventually be drawn into World War I, siding with Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire to form the Central Powers. It was during this period that the Young Turk-led government would carry out ethnic cleansing against minority groups within the empire, resulting in the Armenian, Assyrian, and Greek genocides. The Central Powers would ultimately be defeated, and the Allied powers would occupy the territories of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans would lose all of their territories outside of modern Turkey to the Allies, with much of the Turkish heartland being occupied as well, including the capital of Constantinople, now known as Istanbul. Following the Turkish War of Independence, Turkish General Kemal Atatürk would establish the modern Republic of Turkey, abolishing the Sultanate and ending the Ottoman Empire once and for all. While the Sultanate would be abolished in 1922, the position of Caliph would be allowed to continue within the Turkish Republic, albeit in nothing more than a ceremonial role. This would be short-lived, however, as the position of Caliph would be formally abolished in 1924, with the last Ottoman Caliph and the last officially recognized Caliph in Islamic history, Abdülmecid II, quietly leaving Turkey in exile, effectively ending the institution of the Caliphate. From that point on, no figure would be widely recognized as holding the position of Caliph. We would, however, witness calls to re-establish the Caliphate. The most notable and notorious calls for this would be from the modern-day Salafi jihadist movement, which would serve as the ideology of groups such as Al-Qaeda. The aspirations of this movement would culminate in the establishment by the jihadist group ISIS of the Islamic State in territory in Iraq and Syria, which would be proclaimed a global caliphate by the group's leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, in 2014, who would proclaim himself caliph. The claims of ISIS of holding the position of the caliphate would be overwhelmingly rejected by the majority of the Muslim world, primarily being accepted in fringe jihadist circles. This self-proclaimed caliphate would be short-lived, effectively losing all of their territory by 2019. So there you have it. This has been the history of the caliphate from the first caliph, Abu Bakr, until the final caliph, Abdul Majid II of the Ottoman dynasty. Hope you enjoyed. Talk to you next time. Thank you for watching. This has been another Book of Kings video. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive a notification every time I release a new video.